Welcome to the Effortlessly Abundant Life podcast, where we will dive into the mindset, spirituality, and practical tools to have more of what you want with less effort. I'm your host, Natalia, a mindset shifter, certified life and success coach, and hypnotherapist who is obsessed with making your life feel good from the inside out. So let's dive in today's episode in 3, 2, 1. So, my beautiful listeners, I have such a treat for you guys. I have the wonderful, very talented, and somebody that I think we're going to learn so much from. His name is Art Giser. And I honestly so excited to bring him in because he's going to really talk about the energetics. He's going to talk about NLP. He's going to talk about so many things that kind of connecting both of the practical and the energy work and the spiritual work and how we actually can apply it into our lives, especially in this time that we live right now. So with no further ado, I want to welcome Art Giser. Welcome to the show.
Well, thanks. I'm really happy to be here.
Amazing. So for those who don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you came up to where you're doing and what is it do you do?
Well, I'll start with what I do, which is energetic NLP. NLP stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming. I know you're trained in that. For people that might be listening who don't know about it, NLP, you've heard of the most famous person in our field, who is Tony Robbins. Now, he has his own way of doing things, that you may or may not like. People tend to either totally love Tony or it's not their style. But his power to change people's lives comes from his study of NLP. And I think he started a year or two before I did. And I think did a little better with the marketing. And he introduced so many people to NLP. And NLP stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming. And NLP was developed in the 70s here in California as an alternative to traditional psychology at the time, because traditional psychology at the time was based on insight. And it was a lot of what did your mom do? What did your dad do? What happened in your childhood? And the belief was that if you understood why you were the way you were, your life would change. But they would talk about, well, generally therapy is like 5 years or more. And the people who started NLP went, well, there's some therapists who get magical rapid results with people. So they started studying them and videotaping them. And this is when a videotape machine was like the size of a refrigerator, small refrigerator. It wasn't like an iPhone. And they developed this whole alternative way of approaching human change that was based more on what's the subjective experience that somebody's having. So let's say you have low self-esteem. No matter how you got that way, your mind has to keep recreating it. Every time you feel it, your mind has to create it. So in NLP, we do deal with the past, but more we go, what's going on in your mind that keeps creating this over and over, and how would you change it? And then we add in skills transference. So we call it modeling, like what's going on internally in somebody that gives them a skill, and then how do you teach it to other people? And I've been an NLP trainer since 1985 and stayed with all the developers of NLP. But energetic NLP is a bit different. NLP is one of the pillars of energetic NLP, but only one. I combine it with spiritual principles, healing and transformative energy work, intuition development, clairvoyance, and basically everything I've learned over the last 40 years that I think helps people, and then put it together to create energetic NLP.
That's amazing. So when did you feel that NLP was not enough and we need to add a little bit more of the spiritual, more of those energy work that you kind of mentioned?
Well, when I was first studying NLP, I mean, miraculous things happened. Even in my first course, like it was over months, and we would do practice with one another, and I'd come back, and people go, "Wow, that work we did changed my life." I'd be going like, "Really?" And I was amazed at what it could do. But like any system, it has its limits. And I was at the same time starting to study more about energy healing work, psychic development, spiritual principles. And I realized all of those fields, you could do miracles at times, and at times they weren't the best approach. So I started weaving them together.
Mhm.
in taking ideas from one and applying it to another. So, for example, and there's a lot of people doing fantastic work teaching spirituality and energy work. So this isn't about them. But one of the things that bothers me often is everybody's always telling me what the truth is. This is the
Mm.
way it is. This is how your chakra is supposed to look. And and that can work for people, but that's not what I see. When I look at people's chakras, they look multidimensional, complex. They don't look like what I've been taught. And you need these simpler models in order to do things. But when you start believing they're the truth, you put limits on things. And one of the things I loved about NLP is, unlike traditional psychology at the time, they would say, like, what we're telling you isn't the truth. These are ways of thinking. When they're helpful, use them. When they're not helpful, change them and evolve them. They go, we don't want you just to believe what we're teaching you. We want you to keep evolving the field. And I was going like, yes.
Yes, that was the
So
permission slip you waited for.
exactly. And I bring that into the energy work. So when I teach a workshop, I often have people do the energetic NLP pledge, and I ham it up and make people raise their right hand. And people are looking at me like I'm nuts or they've joined the cult. And the pledge is that they won't believe anything I tell them. And then,
Mm.
they start laughing, and I go, I don't want you to believe what I'm telling you. I want you to think about it, play with it, and connect with your own spiritual information and your own inner wisdom, which is always better than. And I know you talk about that in some of your podcasts too, like trusting your own sources of information. So that's one of the ways that we've taken things from NLP and brought them into the spirituality energy work. So everything's like affecting everything.
I feel like it's exactly what you said. I feel there is no one right way. And I
Right.
think the holistic approach where is combining multiple methods and in different degrees for each person, because every person is very unique and the
Right.
approach should be unique as well. And I think, as you said, one of the most important thing, the person needs to be ready to be healed and understand that he is an important part of the healing process.
Mhm.
We can do the energy work, but are you allowing your nervous system, your energy, your heart, your physical body, your mind to be open and receptive to that? Are you really ready to be healed? Are you ready to be the version of yourself that is a healed version? Or are you still kind of sucked back to your old patterns and your victimizing kind of patterns and all those things that kept you stuck? So I think it's definitely this yin yang
Mhm.
um balance that is always kind of happening in this kind of work. So that is very, very profound. So tell us a
And
little
I
bit
just say,
more. Yeah.
I just want to say, I really like the way you describe that. And that's one of the ways NLP can really help spiritual work is I would go to classes where we're learning healing and transformative energy work. And the person would take it apart later because they would have conscious and unconscious beliefs or programming that wouldn't allow them to receive the benefits. And that's where it's really incredible to go into an NLP mode and
Mm,
look at how do you change those beliefs, assuming they want to, which normally they do.
exactly.
Then the energy work, it has monumental effects. Otherwise, either it doesn't work or they end up taking it apart, not through any fault of their own, but because of limiting beliefs, whether they're conscious and unconscious and programming. So that's a perfect example of how they blend together.
I love this. So, how and when did you find out you have this ability to see people's auras and energy and read them and see beyond the five senses?
Well, uh, everybody, I think, has the ability to begin with. I know you know this. I had some experiences when I was younger, but for the most part, it wasn't like people who go, when I was five, I could, I
Yes.
didn't have any of that. I can look back on certain things and going, oh, now I know how I knew something. Sometimes I would just know something, but I didn't connect it with being psychic or spiritual. But when I was in college, uh, through a whole number of factors. I'd never been depressed in my life. And some things happened that I actually was depressed for a couple of months. And where I was going to school was in a redwood forest. And we were up in a hill. And they had like 60 inches of rain that year. I didn't have a car. There weren't buses yet. It was a fairly new school. And even when I was in a good mood, half the dorm was depressed. So, and also I was things about my identity were being challenged, and it all worked out fine. But I went through a period of depression, which was a whole new thing for me. And I would go to the library to study. And you know, when the doctor hits your knee and your leg moves,
Yes.
I'd be studying, and and we're all young, so you're either studying or you're checking people out.
Absolutely. Or just staring at the wall.
Yeah, well, one of those three.
Right.
And so I would be studying, and if somebody was looking at me from behind, all of a sudden my head would spin, like just like somebody hit your knee, and they wouldn't have time to look away. So I'd be like staring right in their eyes, and they'd be embarrassed, and I'd be usually they'd jump, I'd jump, and I actually stopped going to the library for a while because it was creepy. It was creepy, and I deliberately turned it off, and then but I'd always wanted to develop these abilities, and I always knew I had them, but I was afraid I didn't because of, you know, that common belief that you were either born with it or you weren't.
Yeah.
And so I would like learn a little bit, but then I'd be afraid, like, what if I find out I'm not? It sounds so stupid,
Yeah.
but and then I started studying things a little bit before I started studying NLP. But when I started studying NLP, it was in Marin County, which is on the other side of the Golden Gate Bridge from San Francisco. And if you throw a rock in Marin County, you hit a yoga teacher, a psychic, a coach, a therapist. Somebody wrote a book on personal development. So in the NLP class, there were a lot of people who did different kinds of energy work. So they started teaching me and introducing me to my first teachers. And I realized that it was very easy for me once I had a good teacher to do things I thought I'd have to spend 20 years in a cave to do.
That's so
And
interesting.
then I started experimenting, mixing it with the NLP, and that's how I created both. But I'm always studying, and I have friends who are very talented, and we coach each other every week and work with each other. So always not anymore, because I know you talk about this in one of your podcasts. Earlier on it was, fixing myself. Now it's like, well, how good can I get at this?
Yeah.
What else can I do? So it's more for the fun of it now.
Exactly. It's all about the fun. So, how, for those who want to, because I feel like this is the time where people are waking up. People are
Yes.
seeing beyond the 3D physical, what we can hear, smell, touch. They know there is more to what they see and they hear.
Mhm.
And I feel like there is this, they just don't know how to connect to that, how they can connect to this ability of seeing auras, seeing energy, connecting to source, connecting to their guidance. What would you give them? What kind of tip or kind of process? Obviously, it's a whole thing, but kind of a first step towards achieving and discovering this ability.
Well, first thing I would say is don't do what I did, which is I went to a teacher, a really nice man, a couple actually, and they opened up my abilities really quickly, but they didn't teach me to do it safely. So
Mm.
it's important to learn how to do it safely. A lot of healers are very unhealthy, and there's a reason for that because no one taught them how to do it safely. So I think it's really important for people to get the basics first. And in
When
fact,
you
if,
say safely, just so we're on the same page, what does
yeah,
that mean for you?
there's a tendency when people start learning about energy work to do two things. One is to open up, and all of a sudden you're absorbing all kinds of energy from other people.
Mhm.
And particularly if you're helping them, you're absorbing what they're letting go of, which
Oh,
is what I did. I mean, when I was first learning this, I was one of those people at the gym, people would ask, like, well, how do I build up my arms and my chest and my shoulders? I mean, I look like the picture of health. And, but I was feeling terrible, and my
mm,
stomach hurt, my sinuses were always clogged, I was tired. And I didn't realize I was absorbing my client's energy because nobody had taught me about that part. The other thing is that people tend to do, and a lot of this is a lot of the old healing systems taught people to do this, and I was taught to do this, is you use your energy to heal other people. So you're depleting yourself, and at the same time you're taking on their stuff, which is why a lot of healers are very overweight, or they're very skinny, one or the other. And there's nothing wrong with being overweight or skinny, but sometimes it's an indication when you're a healer that you're not clearing your energy. Because when we're taking on other people's energy, it's tiring. So we want to eat more. And a lot of that energy is held near the second chakra in the lower abdomen. And our body wants to put on weight to kind of buffer it. We're not conscious of this.
Right.
So again, overweight, skinny, whatever is fine. But sometimes it's an indication in energy work that you're not clearing your energy well. And I was recently teaching a workshop at a spiritual community, really good healers, but almost all of them were very obese. And
I agree. I see it a lot. And I always ask myself this question secretly myself. I was like, how a person that is so in tune and connected and knows these things, his body doesn't look healthy. Like it's kind of was a dissonant for me. So that's very, very interesting. Thank you for pointing that out. Makes much more sense now.
a lot of them, like they would wash their hands between people and stuff, but that's not
That's not
enough.
enough.
So
No, that's just a physical action. There's not anymore.
for people to learn how to do it safely, I actually have some free videos on that. And it's okay to mention that, right?
Absolutely. And definitely send me the link so people can check it out later.
And it's an easy one to remember. It's the word blockbuster, like one word, the numeral 7.com. So blockbuster7.com. And you get 4 videos, one a day, and then you can access them after that whenever you want.
Amazing.
And they teach people the basics of energy work. And one of the things that's really important to understand is like people talk about energy vampires or that they're taking on other people's energy. And what I was taught and what I believe is that everyone's a sovereign of their energy field. So nobody can take my energy and keep it unless something in me is letting them.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody's energy can stay stuck in my space unless something in me is letting it.
Mm-hmm.
So for a lot of healers, we believe we have to help people, and there's a lot of programming. We're the martyrs. We get to, it doesn't matter what happens to us as long as we're healing them. And all this old and I'm saying that in a sarcastic way, but maybe that was okay, in the past. It's not the new age. The new age is you heal them with earth and universal energies, and you heal them in their space, not in yours. And that and you don't use your energy to heal them. You use your abilities, but not your energy. In the Blockbuster 7 videos will help people do that. So now, like if I take on somebody's energy, or if they've got my energy, I go, oh, okay, that means there's something in me to clear. And there's easy ways to clear it. Because otherwise, it's like I used to go to a class every week with a great teacher. But, everybody leaves things out. And every class we'd heal each other. And I would feel great. And I was doing my energetic NLP with people. So I was constantly being bombarded by other people, the energy they were releasing and giving my own away. So I'd come to class, I'd get a healing, I'd feel great. As a week would go on, I'd feel worse and worse and worse. I'd get a healing again. And it was this, cycle every week.
Yeah. It was
Because
dependent on that.
Yeah. So I wasn't clearing either karma, spiritual contracts, beliefs, unconscious programming, energetic programming. Any of those things can cause you to hold on to other people's energy or give yours away. So in energetic NLP, we're always looking at, okay, what's happening in us, in our energy field that's allowing it. And then not only do you not take on their energy, but but it improves your life in all kinds of ways when you clear these beliefs and programming, karma, contracts.
Beautiful. So the first step, if you would say to somebody that wants to get in touch with this, like higher self, is the clearing, is the cleaning of the subconscious, of the limited beliefs, all those karmatic relationships that we're kind of still holding on to for generations, right? It could be not something that happened in this lifetime. It could be something that happened past lifetime or in your family, and you're just bringing on it. That's part of your dharma. That's part of your purpose in this lifetime, to untie it and create a new energy. So that is amazing. So I think that is true. I think the more we clear ourselves up from all the things that we think we are, we actually know who we are.
Exactly. Yes.
And that's where you start to think clearly. That's where you get the downloads. That's where you see things clearly. That's what you really can see, what is really you, what is not really you. And you can really kind of live life in a more authentic, connected,
Yes.
and fulfilling way, I would say.
I really like the way you're saying it. And that's one of the strength and weakness of traditional NLP is you treat everything as being internally generated. I mean, you're responding to an outside world, but your emotions are your emotions, your thoughts are your thoughts. And then you start studying energy work and you realize a lot of the emotional energy in our field isn't even ours. A lot of
Yeah.
our thoughts in us aren't ours. So when you add that to the NLP, it just changes everything, because then you're realizing like that isn't really my emotional state. I worked with somebody recently who a relationship was breaking up, and she called me and goes, I'm feeling enormous grief, and
Mm.
I don't mind that I'm feeling grief. The relationship broke up, but I'm overwhelmed by it, and it doesn't feel right to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, well, it's because most of that grief energy isn't even yours. It's like
Mm.
ancestral, familial, past life, from other people. And once we cleared other people's grief energy, she could only have her authentic grief, and we can handle our authentic emotions. She still had some grief, but she goes, "Oh, I feel so much better." And I feel like, of course, I have some grief. The relationship ended, but I don't feel overwhelmed and dysfunctional, because
Yes.
other people's energy, we can't heal it in us. We can suppress it, we can handle it, we can't heal it, but
Mm-hmm.
we can clear it.
Exactly. I feel like a lot of my clients that kind of, why do I need to do the hard work for all my family line? Why I am the one who needs to go deeper and work on these things that feels like endless? Because let's be honest, it's never ending work. And
Yes.
that's the truth. People think, oh, I'm spiritually awake, I'm done, I
Mhm.
am ready for my next ascension. And it doesn't work this way, because there's always things to clear up, there's always next level. And I feel like sometimes it's just feeling almost frustrating, and they feel like they're behind, and they feel like, why me? What would you say to those people?
Well, I love the way you're saying it, and um, because that's such an important message, and people don't get it. It's like they go, "Well, when will I be done clearing my energy?" And I go, "Well, when will you be done brushing your teeth?" It doesn't matter that you brushed
Exactly.
your teeth yesterday. You have to do it today. And what I'll tell people is you can get to the point when you have ways to not just handle it, but grow through it, and actually be more in touch with yourself, like yourself more, like the world more.
Hmm.
Once you know you have that, then now when something comes up, it's like, oh, okay, good. Well, great. My life will get better when I work on this. So, I mean, you can do this 180, and it's just what you were talking about when you go like, these things aren't wrong or bad. These are part of what we came here to explore and to work with. And that when you know you have ways to work with it, then they become interesting. I remember one time, just something really shocking came up. And for a moment, I was shocked, and then I went, oh, wow, when I work on this, my whole life's going to get better, which it
Exactly. We're
did,
thinking it's this one thing. If I'm gonna find that spouse, I'm gonna get the $1 million business. If I'm gonna, that's it. I'm gonna be happy. And that is the biggest lie that we've been sold.
Well, in the way you're talking about with the spouse, part of it is like you can find the perfect person. If you don't take care of the relationship, things are going to go south, or could go south.
Absolutely.
So it's like, it's everything in life. It's just, I think you were just talking about it in one of the podcasts I was listening to, that you know, seeing life as a process, as a journey, rather than we're supposed to get to a particular place and then we're going to be happy. And
Exactly.
I remember a good friend of mine named John Friedlander has written a number of great books, and he's one of the people we work together every week. And years ago, he went, Art, he goes, you're always trying to fix, like this isn't good enough. And I have to, he goes, you don't have to be doing change from that level. You can do it because it's fun, because you want to do it, not because there's something wrong and you're not there yet. And, you know, that changed my whole attitude on everything. That's like, and I'll always have things to work on, because I'll
Yes.
always be raising the bar on myself. But that's
And I
fun.
Yeah, and this is fun. And I think this is exactly it. When we shift the story, and I think what really helped me to kind of approach
Mm,
life in a different way and not think about life good or bad, happy, sad, but all kind of like thinking about it, okay, just give me more clarity of what I do want. If I get something that it's not working out for me, it is feeling stuck, it feels heavy, it feels like not there, is not in alignment. Okay, great. It just actually helps me to be more in tune with what I do want. And it's just an indication where I am. It's almost like saying to your body, like, I wish I wouldn't get hot when the temperature is rising.
right.
It's just a normal response of how actually everything is functioning the way it should be. It's just the story that we tell about it that is making us suffer. And suffering for me, it's a choice, right? We always going to have challenges.
Right.
We're always going to have things that are not working out for us, but it in theory actually everything working out for us. We just don't know the bigger picture. And when we stop telling ourselves why me and just say, you know what is it to teach me? If you come from the place of what I'm here to learn about this, you learned a lesson, you move on, and you can move from lesson to lesson in a joyous way and look at it as like a play.
Yes.
Because honestly, life is just a game. And that's what we're here for, to play a game, right?
Welcome to my brother years ago. He lived in Japan and he bought a book. It was in English called Zen Comics. And I didn't realize they were all famous Zen stories of the master and disciple, but it's these little comics. And I would occasionally, quote one in a class, and people go, "Oh, that's one of my favorite Zen koans." And I'd go, "Well, I got it from my Zen comic book." But there's one where the student is going to the master, you know, how do we overcome the need to eat and drink? Oh no, sorry, to eat and sleep. And the master goes, "Well, that's easy. We do it by eating and sleeping."
Mm, genius.
Yeah.
But it's true. It's true. It's like the question of when I'm gonna be done, when it's gonna be enough. Don't ask this. It's always important to ask the right questions, and I think the right question is what we can learn from it. I think that is the thing that's going to move us forward. So tell me a little bit, because I feel, as you said, you kind of started with Tony Robbins in this particular time, that NLP wasn't a thing, being a coach wasn't a thing. All
Right.
these things, maybe in your area was a thing, but in the wide world, it was not really considered to be a real job or profession.
Yeah.
And I'm very interested to know, because today you see it everywhere, because there is need for that more and more as we grow and we evolve. But back in the days, how did you make that decision that this is what you want to do for the rest of your life? How was your surrounding responding to it? Or did you have any doubt to pursue it, and how did you overcome it?
Well, for once in my life, when it came to career, I had no doubt. I was
Mm,
uh, managing a research lab for the University of California Medical School in San Francisco, and we were studying when a woman's pregnant, her hormone levels of estrogen and progesterone change, but and then the different tissues in the body respond differently. But at the time, nobody knew, like, well, what's happening.
right.
And and it was about the same time they were discovering endorphins, and it was the same kind of research, what's called cell receptors or epigenetics. And I was proud of what we were doing. It was a good job, but I knew I didn't belong there. But I
Mm.
had no idea what I wanted to do. Yeah,
How old you
and
were when that happened?
33,
Oh,
and I just and I was starting to feel really bad about myself, because I was like, why can't I find my thing? And I'd always
mm,
believed something was just going to show up. And then once I discovered NLP, it was like
a light
it,
bulb.
it well, it was like this absolute, I need to learn this. And people would go, well, you're taking all this vacation time, you're spending all this money, because it was fairly expensive, for
Yeah.
back in the day, and a lot of time
Hmm.
and vacation time, and people going, and people would say to me, well, obviously you're happier and it's nicer to be around you, and
We learned
they're
something.
my friends going, my
Right.
friends, it's nicer to be around you. And I'm thinking, what was I like before? But what did other
Exactly.
people think? Um, well, I grew up in Southern California, but people used to think I was from New York, because my
Mm,
parents are from Boston, and I had that East Coast kind of
accent.
attitude, which, Californians find a little aggressive.
Oh,
You know, um, but I didn't understand what was going on. But once I started learning NLP, I just knew it was my path. I had no idea what I was going to do with it, though.
Hmm.
You know, people go, "What are you going to do with it?" And I go, "No idea. I know I need to learn it."
Wow.
And then I just started trying different things. Like uh, through community ed, where they'd have programs for adults at high schools. And in Marin County, I mean, I had some amazing people in my programs. You know, you're very successful people, and I just started teaching different things to see, well, let's see what I like teaching. You know,
Hmm.
applications of NLP to different things, and I started doing one-on-one work with people,
Hmm.
and I started teaching, and I just started trying all kinds of things, and I thought, well, I'll find out what I like by trying it, which for
Yeah.
me was a whole new thing because I was
Right.
stuck all those years because I thought I had to know before I changed.
Exactly.
And NLP helped me flip that around, like, well, experiment and I'll find out what I like. And some of the things I liked, I would never have predicted. And some of the
Hmm.
things I thought I was going to like, I went, mm. So I just really let it evolve for a long time. And I remember a student of mine going, "What's your vision for energetic NLP?" And I went, "Vision?" it's like, it's like, I don't have a vision for it. I'm just letting it unfold. I do now, but at the time I didn't. Um, yeah, so for me, the key was allowing myself to experiment, which is
Hmm.
so much easier now. I mean, uh, you can put things out on the internet so easily now. I mean, you don't have to mail things to people and print out flyers and get them
Right.
put up. And it was hard and expensive to do things. Now it's like, oh, I'm going to go on Facebook and say, "Hey, I'm teaching a workshop on something," and maybe two people will show up, maybe 1,000. But
But between you and I think there's some beauty into it because I think back in the days, if you really were committed, you
yeah,
knew how much work is required from you, you would do it. I feel like people do it now just to have something to hang on their wall. And, I feel these days, it's not the problem that we don't have the right information. We have tons of information. It's more the wisdom. It's more of what it is that takes to be somebody that do what you do and the level that you do it.
yeah.
It is that commitment. It is going deeper and truly trying, experimenting, and not just theory wise, but actually how you apply it and how it's a completely different it's a completely different thing, right?
Well,
So
one of my main mentors in NLP is a woman, Leslie Cameron Bandler, and she's not as well known now. She was one of the developers of NLP, but she retired back in '85, so people aren't
mm,
as aware of her. She was amazing, is amazing, and she talked about there's two main ways to do things in life, and people have problems because they mix them up. And
mhm,
one she called "make it come true," which is when you have an outcome and you can figure out how to get there and you do the steps, which is what I was trying to do when I didn't know what career I wanted. So
mm,
I couldn't do it. And but she goes, the other is called the quest. And the quest is when you know there's something out there, but you don't know where it is or what it is, and you just have to start go looking
mhm,
and engage life. And so I think for people that are looking for new things to do, it's great now you can experiment around and get a sense of what you like and what you don't like, and then really put your energy into what you discover that you love. Because I think there's a lot of people that like me, some people know exactly what they want and how they want to do it. But there's a lot of people like me that until we experience it, uh, we don't really know.
yeah, I agree. So we talked about healing, and healing
Mhm.
is truly, I think, one of the most important things to really get everything you want in your life, if it's abundance, relationship, love, all the above. So how can people start healing themselves, and if you can really talk about your approach to reprogram your chakras, that would be awesome.
Well, I can take people through a really simple process right now, if you'd like.
Yeah, please.
In energetic NLP, uh, there's four elements that are always happening. One is you set an intention, and an intention doesn't have to be specific. So,
Mhm.
somebody might go, well, I want to change careers, but I don't know into what. So the intention could be, I found a career, or I found a business and I love it. You don't have to know what it is. It can be the experience you want. So you set an intention, and then you add the words or better.
Yes.
So that you're giving your spirit permission to give you things you didn't even know to want or didn't know were possible. And then the second step is you give permission to receive the benefits. Because people think that just because they have intention, there's permission, and they don't automatically run together at all. And in fact, in energetic NLP, we look at, is your spirit giving permission? Is your soul giving permission? Is your conscious mind giving permission? Are the various parts of your unconscious mind giving permission? Is your body giving permission? Will your karma allow it? Will your spiritual contracts allow it?
Wow.
So we call it whole being permission. We look at all of those. Because a lot of times people go, well, I'm visualizing what I want, but it's not happening. And there can be more than one reason, but sometimes their soul is going, or part of their unconscious mind is going, no. But even just giving conscious permission is very powerful. So it's intention or better, conscious permission. And then we put the miraculous self in charge. And in a moment, I'll explain what that is. And the last part is the part that's hard for a lot of people, is just use your imagination. So during these processes, I'll tell people, if you're during the process going, is it working? Is it not working? Should I be thinking this? Should I be feeling that? It's like trying to dance when you're going, am I moving right?
Exactly. You can't think about it and do it at the same time. It's either you're there or not. And as a singer, I know that is the number one thing I tell my student and change my singing and my performance is check off your mind, just put it on a shelf and just breathe and be present and just allow and say, fuck it. Sorry for my French. And just allow yourself to just be and have it be enough.
I mean, that if people got nothing else out of this podcast, that was their lives. Let yourself have the experience you're having, and then you can work on it later. And when people, so I tell people, just imagine it's happening. Imagine energies are coming in. Imagine blocks are being transformed and you're being reprogrammed. And as you know, when you imagine that, you open up the doorways for your unconscious mind, your spirit, to do the magic. So I'll tell people later, you can analyze it, infinitely if you want to. While it's going on, just bring out your inner playful child. Like I'll tell people, if you were 5 years old and I said, okay, fill up the room with sparkling gold energy, you would, and it would work, and you'd giggle, and you wouldn't go, is it work? It's sort of like when you're a kid and you pretend you're, an actor or athlete or singer or something. That it's not real doesn't even matter. It's just, you're just pretending.
Yes.
So the keys are intention, permission, miraculous self, and pretending. So the miraculous self, and this is a unique concept to energetic NLP, it's different than the high self. Your miraculous self is when your spirit and your deep inner human wisdom become aligned and come together to guide you, nurture you, heal you, support you, and help you manifest. And again, sometimes people go, well, isn't my spirit automatically aligned with my deep inner wisdom? Like, no. Sometimes.
Depends where your focus is, right?
Well, it depends on quite a few things. And that what I'm calling the spirit, and I need to define this because people use the word to mean different things.
It's true.
When I use the word spirit, I mean the higher frequencies of your non-physical self, the higher frequencies of the non-physical self. And at that level of your being, to me, the spirit is like your perfect parent going, whatever you want, dear. You want to get your heart broken? Well, that's a valid spiritual path. You want true love? That's another valid spiritual path. Not because it doesn't care, but like the perfect parent is going, explore life, live, and I'll support you.
Plus, we have free choice, right?
Yeah. So. And the spirit just sees all these different things as valid spiritual paths. And your deep inner human wisdom is much more in touch with your minute by minute life. So it can go, well, I know having my heart broken is a valid spiritual path, but is there another way to do this? The spirit and the deep inner human wisdom come together you grow spiritually and personally. And I'm not saying you never have challenges or problems. That's not a human life. But a lot of the problems we have never materialize when you get that union. And when they do materialize, you feel you're guided, nurtured, and supported. So it just changes the whole character of the challenge completely. No matter how big a challenge it is, it's like you have this foundation that's solid, and that changes everything. And in energetic NLP, we always have people put their miraculous self in charge. So my job is to get the energy flowing, earth and universal energies, not mine, and flowing in your space. And then your miraculous self decides what to do with them, what karma to release, what programming, what chakras to work on. And then as things are being cleared, we set the intention that your miraculous self gives you a download to replace it of wisdom and knowledge, concepts, skills, abilities, attitudes, and behaviors to replace what you've released. And you let that happen outside of your conscious awareness, because again, if you try to control it, you trip it up. And creating your miraculous self is really, really simple. Some people try to make it hard. It's really simple. You set your intention, you give permission, and you just imagine it's happening. So anybody who's watching right now, and by the way, this all works on recording. It doesn't need to be live. If you just imagine it's happening right now while you're watching or listening, you'll access the energies. The other thing is never do any of this while you're driving. Some people go, yeah, I was doing it while I was driving. I'm going, the energy is designed to get you to go inward. You don't want to be inward when you're driving.
Nope, not a good idea.
So the actual technique is going to be really simple. And one more thing that's key is I'm going to use some terms that your conscious mind might go, I don't know what that is. That's fine. Your miraculous self knows what I'm talking about better than I do. So I'll talk about your essence. I'll talk about something called eye of God energy. And just assume that your miraculous self knows what I'm talking about. And it knows where all your chakras are, including the ones above your head, the numerous ones in the body, the ones below your feet. So I know
People think there's only 7, but there's a lot more.
A lot more. And again, for people watching, your miraculous self will figure this out. So the first step is just to set your intention that you're going to create your miraculous self right now. That your spirit and your inner wisdom are going to create your miraculous self. You have 100% permission for that to happen. And then just pretend it's happening. Take a couple easy, deep breaths. And then just imagine that you already have a miraculous self now, because you do. It really is that simple. And set your intention that your miraculous self will be in charge of the rest of this process, about how you benefit from it. So go ahead and set an intention. So we're going to do a clearing of some of the programming and chakras, and we're not trying to get it all at once. The way I would describe the intention is that whatever programming your miraculous self wants you to release right now is what will get worked on in whatever chakras, whatever programming. And because this is recorded and you have your wonderful podcast channels and YouTube, people can go back. You can go back and do it again as many times as you want. So just whatever's right for right now. We call it the Goldilocks principle. Not too much, not too little, whatever's just right. So everybody take an easy, deep breath. And I'm going to use a term called eye of God energy. In eye of God energy, under different names, they talk about in Islam, Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism. In all of those systems, in all of the metaphysical parts of those systems, it's an energy that can dissolve blocks. And like a laser, just, and it's often called eye of God energy. And your miraculous self, just assume your miraculous self knows what I'm talking about. And energy follows thoughts and intention. So if your miraculous self calls on the eye of God energy, it will come. And it, you know this, but a lot of people are going, it can't be that simple. It is that simple. So set your intention that what we're about to do is going to clear old programming from your chakras, give permission for your miraculous self to be in charge, give permission for your miraculous self to, as that old programming is released, to reprogram your chakras with wisdom and knowledge, concepts, skills, abilities, attitudes, and behaviors that will allow you to live a more miraculous life. And for people who aren't good visualizers, I'm going to describe this as a visualization. And if you pretend you're seeing it, your unconscious mind will see it, and that works. So if you see it in holographic glory, fine. If you're just pretending you're seeing it, it works equally well if you don't fuss about it.
Meaning
So
you
imagine,
can mess it up.
yeah, you can't.
Whatever is that.
And so just imagine out in front of you is a column of this eye of God energy that can just dissolve blocks. And that your miraculous self is just calling upon it, so it comes. And then give your miraculous self permission to start gently removing from you programming that it wants you to release, programming, limiting beliefs. And it's going to go into that column. And as they go into the column, they just get dissolved. And it's important, just pretend that it's happening. From the space above your head, from your body, from below your body. And sometimes there's programming or beliefs that block us from releasing programming and beliefs. So give your miraculous self permission to send into that column of energy anything that would block you from releasing those blocks. And also send in anything that would block you from releasing what's blocking you, from releasing what's blocking you. And at this point, your conscious mind has to just give up and just let it go into the column, whatever your miraculous self wants there. Easy, deep breaths. And imagine now your miraculous self is reprogramming your chakras with wisdom, knowledge, concepts, skills, abilities, attitudes, and behaviors that will cause you to live a more miraculous life, a happier, more successful, more abundant life. Take a couple easy, deep breaths. Give permission for the benefits to be integrated into you, into your life, into your personality, into your energy field. Let that eye of God column of energy dissolve. And then it's very, very important that you retrieve your energy back from everybody else's space, because there's a tendency to mix up energies. If you don't retrieve your energy, you'll feel depleted later. You could. So just ask your miraculous self to pull all of your energy back from us, and we'll pull our energy back from you. And if any of that energy, your miraculous self doesn't want it, it can just go down into the earth through your feet, into your grounding, into the earth. And it's always important to fill up. So give your miraculous self permission to fill you up with more of your authentic essence into your DNA, your cells, organs, body systems, chakras, energy channels, energy field, which is in and around you in all directions. More of your authentic essence is coming in, along with earth and universal energies that will help you now and in your next steps in life. And any excess energy just goes out your feet back into the earth. And then we have a different way that we do grounding in energetic NLP. So typically people teach you to ground into the earth, which is great, it works. But the earth is more powerful than we are, so I like to do it the other way around. Ask the earth to ground you. let it do the work. Let it send a column of energy up near the base of your spine and give it permission to ground only your authentic energy into your body. This is important. It's only grounding your authentic energy into your body. And a fun way to picture that is imagine there's a point of light in your energy field for every cell in your body, and they get out of alignment. When the earth grounds you, every point of light goes in the cell it belongs in. So your energy body and your physical body get fully aligned. And that grounding column is like the root of a tree. Your miraculous self can let the earth send up into you energies that are loving, acknowledging, healing, nurturing, energies that validate your right to exist. There are no extra people on the planet. If you're here, you're supposed to be here. So let all of that come up, and anything else your miraculous self wants to release just goes down your grounding into the earth. And when you do an energetic NLP process like the Eye of God one we just did, you'll be processing it usually for days. So set your intention that tonight and for the next 4 nights, part of the time when you're sleeping, not all night, part of the time, your unconscious mind will review what we did in this process. When it does that, your miraculous self will infuse it with wisdom and knowledge, concepts, skills, abilities, attitudes, and behaviors from your miraculous self. While you're sleeping, the benefits will be made deeper, richer, wider. They'll be made higher and more multidimensional. And while you're sleeping, the benefits will automatically be integrated into your mind, emotions, body, and energy field. So that while you sleep soundly, deeply, wake up feeling refreshed, the benefits are automatically being integrated into your mind, emotions, body, and energy field. And that it can happen tonight and for the next 4 nights while you sleep soundly, deeply, and wake up feeling refreshed. So now just imagine a lot of sparkling energies coming in to wake you back up. It's good to stretch and move a little bit.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. That was,
Feeling,
oof,
yeah.
all kinds of feelings, but a lot of kind of those warm waves of energy I just felt, and trust and
Mm,
ugh, I can't wait to hear what other people felt. So write us in the comments, or if you listen in the podcast, write it, because there is a section where they can let us know how that affected them, because I'm sure this is kind of goes beyond the stuckness, beyond the obstacles,
yeah.
and you kind of allow it in a very smart and unique way to kind of just melt all those things down
Mm,
and just align you to feeling good and feeling connected and remind you like who you really are. That was amazing.
thank you for saying that. And for people to know that as you're processing this, sometimes emotions come up and it'll be old emotional energy. A lot of it won't even be yours. So if after this, during it, or after it, or tonight, or in the morning, you find emotions coming up, just be mindful of them and go, oh, good, I'm just releasing old emotional energy, most of which won't even be mine. So just, if you just let it go, it'll be easy. And this process is one of the ways we make energy work safe, because
Mm,
you know, like after I work with people, I do this to like, okay, what got activated in me or what could be holding on to their energy? And I keep clearing it. So this is, and then fill up with my own essence again. So this is one of the couple of techniques we do to make it safe.
amazing. So, just to kind of close it up, I would love to speak to you and hear your perspective on this unique time that we live in. I think not a lot of people in our spiritual world talk about it, or maybe they do.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is a very unique time that we live in. I think people are faced with so many challenges. And I mean, it's pretty obvious that no matter where you look, there is either personal obstacles, if there's challenges in the political sector, if it's the health sector, if it's just in an energetic level, there's a shift happening right now. And I think this is an amazing time to be alive, but
Mhm.
it's hard for those who are kind of still feeling they are deeply connected to the 3D, but they want to ascend to the 5G, and they want to live in the
Right.
more spiritual, connected, and free from being in the matrix. So, how would you, what would you say to those people? How they can ascend to that version of themselves and be part of this new world?
Well, I would start with what you said. This is an amazing time to be alive. And it reminds me a little bit of like the late 60s, early 70s, which were very challenging. We had the Vietnam War going on, and there was just a lot going on. And the country was extremely polarized. And
Mm-hmm.
like you're seeing in the US and in the world now,
Right.
uh, to where like people wanted to shoot each other and stuff.
Yeah.
And so very similar to now. And uh, sometimes people that are younger will ask me about those times, and I go, well, it was very challenging, and I wouldn't have missed it for anything,
Mm.
because part of it was this incredible expansion and incredible, like my nephew, when he was young, goes, well, what you guys tried didn't work out. I'm going, are you kidding? Watch an old movie. Look at the role of women, you know, um, gays, et cetera,
Yes,
minority.
yes.
It's like, oh, black person, they're the servant. And, if they're in a movie at all, they're the maid, they're the butler, I mean,
Right.
it was changing enormously. And so I think it's important to both go, there's a lot of things that we need to change, and there's a lot to be grateful for.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think for part of it for people, it's like I was watching a thing on TV about, I can't remember if it was South America or Africa, because I turned it in the middle. But these people, to get water to drink, they have to canoe for a few hours. And sometimes when they get there, there isn't any water. So if they
Exactly.
canoe, and it's like, I go turn on my tap. And um, so I think it's important to realize there's so many incredible and wonderful things, and we need to validate that and be aware of that while we go, these are the things that we want to change, including that ascension. And I think it fits in with what you were saying earlier, that, if we do that as something like, we have this fantastic opportunity, the energy field. I think I mentioned earlier, I thought I'd have to sit in a cave for 20 years to do what I could do really quickly. And things are available now. And when you do it like, oh, this is the bad, wrong, profane world, and I have to ascend, then it's kind of miserable. If you go, I'm living in this amazing time with all kinds of challenges, but an amazing time. And I mean, look, we're communicating with people all over the world,
Amazing.
and that, and this is what I want. This is what I'm working on, both for other people and for myself. Then it can be joyful rather than this invalidation of what is. And I think it helps if you have the kind of belief that I know you have, I have, that everything that's happening is part of an unfolding.
Mm-hmm.
And and I'll make this short. I had a spontaneous experience years ago. For 3 days, whatever happened was perfect. And I wasn't trying to think that way at all. It
Mm.
wasn't even on my mind. It was just totally real to me. Whether I liked it or not, everything was unfolding perfectly. And then it
Wow.
faded away. And a few years ago, I was meditating on it, and I go, why did that fade away? And
Mm.
the guidance I got was, well, we just wanted to show you where you're going. You weren't ready to be there yet. That's where you're going to
Wow, what a
be.
tease.
Well, it was an inspiration. And
Yes.
so for everybody, it, not that every second of it's joyful, but it can be such a fabulous way to go through life when
Mm.
you're embracing that movement, as long as you're not invalidating where you are at the moment. And,
Yes.
you just keep going towards the carrot, and don't hit yourself because you're not there yet.
Exactly. I think it's everything that you said. It's about perspective. It's about being
Yeah.
grateful. It's about knowing that your soul chose to be here. And,
Yeah.
there is something that you meant to experience here to expend. And this is the only way that was actually your soul asked to be expended. So take this opportunity and learn the lessons. Take it lightly, enjoy every moment, love as much as you can yourself and others, and the rest is up to source.
I just laughed. As you were saying that, a butterfly flew by the window, and I took that
Wow, what a
as
confirmation. I absolutely love it. So, for the last question is, this is the Effortlessly Abundant Life podcast. And I would love to hear why you think you are in this podcast and what effortlessly abundant life means to you.
Well, what it means to me, and not that you're not sometimes working hard, but you're not committed to hard work. That you're you have a sense of a vision, even if you don't know what it is for your life, and you're going towards it, and that you start allowing things to be synchronistic and to support you and just happen.
Mm.
And at times, maybe it does take a lot of effort, but that actually can be fun sometimes. And other times, it's just really easy, and other times things don't work. So to me, it's what makes it effortless is that you kind of like a sailboat in the ocean. You keep working with whatever the conditions are. It's not like, oh, it's a bad, the storm, bad storm. It's like there's a storm.
Yes.
Deal with it. There's no wind today. Okay, there's no wind today.
Yeah.
And just starting to work with and allow life to support you.
Oh,
And
love
which
it.
includes, sometimes things don't work, but sometimes that's exactly what gets us on a better path.
Yes,
You know?
exactly. I love this. Thank you so, so, so much, Art. That was an amazing conversation, and I'm sure so many people got so much value from. So, if people want to work with you, learn from you, where they can find you.
Well, the best way to next step is to go to that blockbuster, the number 7.com, and they'll get the videos. They're also, of course, very welcome to email me at art@energeticnlp.com, energetic like NLP, Nancy Larry Peter.com. Um, and I also do, if they're on my mailing list, I do free a free healing session every Sunday called Change the World from Your Living Room, where we do a world healing. Then everybody gets a very strong personal, mental, emotional, and physical healing.
Wow.
And then I have a number of workshops that are coming up real soon if people are watching this soon. And
Yes.
um, if you sign up at the Blockbuster, then you'll be on my mailing list. You can always unsubscribe. I don't think you want to, but you always
Exactly.
can. Or just email me at art@energeticnlp.com.
Beautiful. Thank you again so, so much. And I have a feeling we're gonna see you again because I feel like a lot of people are gonna ask questions and they want to listen and get more from you. So I can't wait. But thank you so much for your time and let's change the world
Yeah.
one soul
Well,
at a
thank you.
time.
Thank you for what you're doing in the world. It's amazing.
Oh, thank you
It's a
so
gift.
much. Thank you, my dear. Thank you.